The 2000 Oscars, the year 1999. This is one of the most lauded movie years ever. If you go online and look at what's the greatest movie year ever, just type that into a search engine of any kind. 1999 pops up all over the place. Several major publications have written about 1999 being the best movie year ever. So in part, we'll talk about the question, is it? But also, what should have won the Best Picture and what should have been nominated as Best Picture in this year? Now, of course, these are my opinions, and I go by voting rules at the time. So go to this website, atogt.com, where I think you can find the list of eligible nominees for the 2000 Oscars, movies released in 1999 in the United States. Now, I already covered the question what I thought was the greatest movie year ever in another video, and I didn't pick this one. I dismissed this one out of hand pretty quickly. The reason is, to me, it doesn't have one of those outstanding movies like The Godfather Part 2 or Shawshank Redemption in it to qualify. I think the greatest movie year ever needs to have a movie like that, or maybe 3 or 4 of them. But in this year's favor, this is one of the most deepest, not the deepest year ever. To me, most years you can watch 30 of the movies from that year and it'd probably be okay. But once you hit the 31st movie, it gets a little sketchy or dicey. There's just not that many great, outstanding, timeless sorts of movies that last from any given movie year. This year, though, even though it's been only 26 years ago, this movie goes 70, 80 movies deep. And that is extremely unusual. There's so many good movies. In fact, of course, I lived during this year. I don't remember it being this great, but it must have been, because every week there must have been 2 pretty decent to pretty good to great movies coming out. 2 every week. Can you imagine? But I will say, despite that depth, I don't love the Best Picture nominees this year. They tend to be Hollywood sentimental. They have this sort of drippy emotional appeal, but that's been typical throughout this series. As I started in 1981, I worked my way to 2000 here. American Beauty wins. The Cider House Rules is here. The Green Mile, Frank Darabont's follow-up to Shawshank Redemption. The Insider by Michael Mann, and the very popular at the time, still M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense. Surprisingly, you don't usually get like a horror type movie in Best Picture, but you did this year. And as usual for Best Director, take one movie out, put another movie in. Spike Jonze got nominated for Best Director for Being John Malkovich. And Frank Darabont did not get nominated for Best Director, but the other 4 movies, the directors of those movies for Best Picture, are in Best Director list, so that's pretty typical of what the Oscars do. Now, I've already covered in yet another video what I thought was the worst 90s Oscar Best Picture nominee ever, and I picked The Cider House Rules, because I think that movie has some problems. I don't think it's that great, my opinion. And since this year is so darn deep, and there's so many movies that have been lauded, highly rated on aggregate sites, you look at the Cider House Rules and go, oh, they didn't nominate The Matrix, they didn't nominate Magnolia. I mean, there's so many movies that you could go, why didn't they nominate that movie instead of the Cider House Rules? So that's one reason I would pick the Cider House Rules as not being, well, as being the worst nominee in this decade. And having mentioned a couple movies that could substitute for it, here is my, well, it's a 2-part list. It's the first time I've done this before. I have my draft of nominees, what I could put in the Best Picture list, but I could also put the ones I really like, which are here, and then the ones that other people really like, I don't care for as much, but I think those are worthy of being named here as well. This is an amazingly long list. There's no year like this so far as the years I've covered. Among those many respectable people like these, I like some elements of some of these for sure. Some of them come recommended. There's a Martin Scorsese movie that's definitely worth checking out, Bringing Out the Dead. Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. Green Mile, actually, it's pretty good. I don't mind that movie. Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, pretty good. The Sixth Sense, Matrix, and Fight Club. So just so you know, at the time, there's no freaking way The Matrix would have gotten nominated. It was just like a big action science fiction thing, and it didn't have that cultural cachet it acquires several years later, just kind of like The Big Lebowski in 1998. Same problem. Like, it's not the style and tone and the kind of thing that Oscars nominate. I thought it was unusual to see The Sixth Sense nominated. I think that's the same with Fight Club, probably. It's just not the kind of thing they would have ever nominated, or it would have been unlikely. It would have had a ton of good buzz about it, and it didn't. In the I really like these lists, my personal choices, some of these are quite good. I think most people like these. Toy Story 2, great. Office Space is a very memorable movie for me. I like the Woody Allen movie, Sweet and Lowdown. I like The Mummy. There's an Errol Morris documentary. It's definitely worth watching, the Mr. Death movie. The Limey is very good. And Galaxy Quest is an all-timer for me, although it is kind of attached to Star Trek and nerd culture. So I never know if Galaxy Quest is like for everybody or only for special people or certain kinds of people, but I understand it now. I think it's a great insider Hollywood movie as well as a fun science fiction movie. A couple documentaries. The Endurance. I love this movie about Shackleton's Antarctic escapades from the early 20th century. Liam Neeson is the narrator. Buena Vista Social Club, Wim Wenders kind of really gets the Cuban music scene going with this one, and that's a pretty well-known movie. Elections, very good. I love Alexander Payne. I could just go on and on about this list. Frankly, these two lists right here, I could pick Best Picture nominees from, and this would be a very good year. But wait, there's more, because my draft of nominees, I think I picked movies here that many people could agree are pretty good to great. Dang, I should go through these. I just don't have the time. Being John Malkovich is a very trippy movie. It's worth watching. It's dark and disturbing in so many ways, but it's fun, cerebral, as the streaming services would label it. The Insider is certainly worth watching, although it's sad nowadays. There's still a lot of smoking and vaping, and here's a movie about anti-smoking efforts. The Iron Giant, a fantastic movie, along the lines of Toy Story 2, but Iron Giant goes back to that 2D animation style. Brad Bird's, I think it's his first movie, but he would go on to make several good movies. And I love a lot of these movies. I mean, Man on the Moon is great, in my opinion. Jim Carrey's performance in that, he was probably a monster on the set doing his method acting, but it's a great rendition of Andy Kaufman. And it's a movie of and about its times, too. The Straight Story ought to be mentioned, a great David Lynch movie. Three Kings, do not overlook Three Kings. I would try it if I were you. I really like it. It's Scorsese-like, but more playful. In some ways, it's about the first Gulf War, which the United States thought was a triumph then and probably now, but this is about the aftermath of any war. It's got some serious star power in it. George Clooney, one of Mark Wahlberg's first, Ice Cube. Just check it out. It's very, very good or interesting, even though it's got some wonky or weird parts to it. I don't know if it's coherent enough to put in my list, but I must put a lot of emphasis on it. Try it out. That and Being John Malkovich and Any Given Sunday. I mean, I think people know that one because it's a Oliver Stone football movie. All right, I could go on for 20 more minutes here. Do you want that or not? Maybe I should make an extended version of this video, but my nominees are American Beauty is a very good movie. I really think it still holds up. Now, the music from it is as memorable as anything. It's been used in trailers 50,000 times, Thomas Newman's score, but this is pulled off quite well as a social commentary, a sort of downer Capra-esque, in my opinion, a Frank Capra-like movie, but very downer. Some social commentary, but nobody gets to be the hero here, in my opinion, about surveillance, about what we want and desire. Maybe a movie about its times, maybe for more than its times, I don't know. So I'm going to put that one here, and that's the rare Best Picture winner that I think is deserving of actually being in the nominee list. Magnolia I'm putting here. I think many of us can agree. Paul Thomas Anderson pulls off this ridiculously challenging cross-cutting effort where different characters live sync up even they don't know about each other. This has some star power in it. It's a highly emotional movie, and I think it works still really well. Definitely one that most people aspiring to be a filmmaker should watch, just for the cross-cutting alone and the interconnecting stories. So I think that one still deserves to be here. It was a big deal in its time, and to me it still works. So it's lasted a quarter century. And now I'm going to get controversial. I almost never break my rules, but occasionally I will. So The Wind Will Carry Us is Abbas Kiarostami's a great movie about his own experiences, in part going to rural Iranian villages and filming there. So it's about this outsider coming into an insider village. A pretty typical setup for him. Documentary-like, meta commentary on film, of course, because that's what he's going to do. I think this was a striking movie for me. I didn't realize how great it was. It's about telecommunications. So, like American Beauty, it still works in the modern world. It's about a guy going out and trying to get cell phone coverage in this rural Iranian village and digging a telecommunications line. It might be internet or something else in and around the village, and actually in their cemetery. And so the symbolism is palpable here. And I get hypnotized by his movies very easily. So that's one reason I'm going to really love this movie. It's just like he does this to me. I think this is the second movie you should start with if you've never seen one of his movies. Go watch Where Is My Friend's House, which has a universal scenario that the entire world can understand easily. A boy loses his homework. Okay, so it's a great movie and a great understandable scenario. This is the second movie from him I would watch. If I watch Where's My Friend's House, watch this one, and then you can kind of see if you like his movies and what he's about. So this is a good test case for any of you who have not interacted with him. And now I have the two blanks. They're going to be my two favorites, or two of my favorites. Galaxy Quest, which David Mamet called a perfect movie. Okay, I don't know. Maybe... What is a perfect movie? I have no idea, but that's a fun statement from him. So there's that one. I could watch it every month, probably at least every year. And Toy Story 2, the same. It's actually my favorite Toy Story, although 3 is the emotional wrap-up, and really good wrap-up of all three of the first three movies. But 2 is a very fun adventure movie. It makes me laugh. I delight in the scenarios, the characters, everything about it. So I think this is one of Pixar's many peaks. I'm going to put it here because I love it. But as I said, if I could make a counter list with maybe Any Given Sunday, maybe Being John Malkovich, maybe The Insider, maybe The Iron Giant, maybe Man on the Moon, certainly The Straight Story probably belongs in this list. That's probably the sixth one that I'm leaving out. That list would be almost as good, if not better, than the list I picked. I admit that. Again, this is a deep year to me with no absolutely amazing standout 2 to 3 movies. So that's going to make it challenging to pick any list like this and Best Picture, which is coming up. What should win Best Picture? Could pick Beauty. It won. I could sync up with them. I'm having a hard time picking Galaxy Quest or Toy Story just because I think those are more personal choices for me. There's nothing wrong with voting that way, and certainly Oscar voters have always voted for their personal preferences, that's for sure, and their buddies who have made their been in the movies, that's for darn sure. Magnolia would be an easy choice. And probably if I were in a sane moment right now, it's April, I am swamped by the school year, I would just be reasonable and pick Magnolia. It's not my favorite movie ever. It's not even my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. But I think it works as a Best Picture thing that can last for a while, or in 50 years we can say, hey, that won Best Picture, and people go check it out, and maybe they'll get something out of it. Maybe. I don't know. But that should win. But
the Oscar, that's wrong. Oh, yeah. The Oscar goes to...
This is my darn list. I've worked through 20 years, 20 videos on doing this. So I'm going to break the rules. And I haven't given this guy much credit. He hasn't won an Oscar. Of course, he couldn't have won an Oscar because he was never Oscar eligible. Well, he wasn't Oscar eligible in the 80s and 90s. Let's put it that way, given the rules and given what was going on. And he's Iranian. And I want to give them props. They have some great movies, great movie culture in Iran for a long time. Thanks to him, partly at least. Abbas Kiarostami's The Wind Will Carry Us is my winner. Okay, it's not eligible. Okay. I get it. I'm breaking the rule. Okay, I hate breaking rules like this, but I've done it a couple times in this series. And dang it, I want to give him a Best Picture because this is one of the best directors ever. Certainly one of the most fascinating. And to give him the Best Picture award, even though we're not playing by the rules, is something I think we should do at some point. I did that for Krzysztof Kieslowski earlier. I think I did it for Terrence Malick last year or somebody. I mean, I've done this a few times, so I'm going to give the Oscar to a great, great, great artist, and here's one of the greatest of movie artists in my opinion. So this is probably the last time I can do this, so The Wind Will Carry Us will win this year. Now, what would you pick out of all of these? And I must tell you, if you're ever going to work through this like I did, this is the Mount Everest of movie years. You got to really work hard. 70, 80, 90 movies worth to watch to kind of sort out what your top 5, top 10 would be, what your best picture would be. And of course, it's a ridiculous exercise because ranking art sometimes is silly. I get that, but it's just for fun. What would your rankings be, your top 5 and your winner? Tough choice. I think we're going to have a lot of options here, so let us know in the comments. Thanks for viewing. Go check out the rest of my Oscar series, and please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you, and have a great day.